Now, what are continental spindle gouges? As the name suggested, these were mostly used in continental Europe, but that doesn't mean that these were only used exclusively here. If you find videos on YouTube, and if I do find them, I will put the links in the video description. There are a few, I remember one quite clearly. It was black and white, and it was a Turner from 40s, I believe, 1940s. And he was using a lot of these spindle gouges, continental spindle gouges, and not just for the spindle work but also for face work, so bowls. And in that video I think he made a bowl with a lid. You have to understand that, let's say for example here in Croatia, it was hard to import before the European Union. It was hard to import bowl gouges. Now you could do it, but it was a lot to pay for the shipping. After the European Union, that's much easier now. But my first tool were continental spindle gouges, so I use these for spindle work, cross-grain work, everything. So a lot of turners have difficulties recognizing the continental spindle gouge versus a spindle gouge, or regular on a round shank. Now, just for the comparison, I have here slightly smaller continental spindle gouge, and you can see these are a little bit different. Now, if you watch here where they meet the handle, here we have on the continental spindle gouge, we have the shank, which is sort of in a point, and here we have extension of this round bar here. Now these are mostly made by milling the flute from the round piece of high-speed steel stock. These are however made mostly by forging the flat piece of stock. So you can see the profile here. Let me just adjust the camera. Profile here on the continental spindle gouge is much different when you compare to round shank like this one, and side by side. Hope you can see the difference here. So a little bit shallower flute on the continental spindle gouge on the left, a little bit deeper, let's say, or on a smaller footprint it's a little bit deeper. However, on the same or slightly smaller size tool, you have similar size meat on the bottom here, and that makes it this quite versatile and useful spindle gouge. But again, that doesn't mean that these are useless, especially if you're just starting out. These can be really handy. There are some nuances using these because they can be dangerous if you don't know how to use them, and in this video I'll show you. We'll turn a little bowl from this ash using a continental spindle gouge, and I'll show you those nuances. And again, it's safe practice if you know what you're doing. Again, if you're starting out, this can be found even from Crown quite cheaply versus the regular spindle gouges like these or any other tools. Now, just for a comparison, you have somebody like Richard Raffen, who when he started out, he could buy these quite cheaply and by the bunch, and these were quite readily available. There were no bowl gouges as such. When I started out much in a newer age, let's say, I could not import the bowl gouge at a cheaper price before the European Union. After that, it was much easier to import, but when I started out 18 years ago on the lathe first time, we were using these continental spindle gouges a lot for any work on the lathe. So again, this can be different from a regular spindle gouge, and the use is a little bit different, but not by much. But these are quite safely to use on a cross grain if you know how to approach the timber. Now there is another spindle gouge which I have to mention, and let me just clear this out of the way. Now I think you all know this tool here. This is called spindle roughing gouge, and as the name suggests, this is a great tool for roughing down spindles. So from square to round, or sizing down blank, this is a great tool to have. And now I don't use this one. I only for one video sharpened it and used it in that video, but I never used this one. I used the big Continental spindle gouge to rub down spindles. But usually when turners say you never use spindle gouges on a cross grain work, they usually meant this one here. As you can see, the difference here on the profile is quite a difference in terms of a Continental spindle gouge, like this one here. It's a very, very big difference. And this one here, and there is a video I believe from Australian turner. If I could find it, I'll again put it in the link in the video description. He tested out using this one on a cross grain work, and it was okay like a few times, and then it bite him, and he did on that on purpose. He's an excellent turner. I think Richard mentioned him in one of our emails, and he's an excellent turner, and he wants to demonstrate why you never use this one on a cross grain work. And there is a lot of here steel, and when you position this, you can get away on a certain cuts on the outside, but if you just don't know what you're doing and just stick this into a cross grain spinning timber like this, it will be a massive catch. Usually breaks somewhere, usually here at the tang or here somewhere, and it's quite a mess, and a quite dangerous mess. And that turner that tested out get quite a big cut, so he did bleed for the video as well. So again, I would say like this: you never use spindle roughing gouge like this one with a big U-shaped flute, with a thin tang like this, with the sides bringing up like this. So remember this profile here. I would never use this tool here on a cross grain work. Regular spindle gouge like this one here on a round shank, especially on the outside of the ball, is perfectly fine. Now I would not use this for a deep hollow, just because it will vibrate a little bit too much. So ball gouges are much safer and better and more efficient way of turning the inside. Again, I would argue ball gouges are a little bit more efficient, but it doesn't mean that the spindle gouges, and especially Continental spindle gouges, are not. So as you see in this video, I'll show you how I shape the outside and the inside of the ball using the Continental spindle gouge here. So, but first we need to sharpen it. Now, I forgot to mention that this spindle gouge, Continental spindle gouge, is wide 19 mil. That's, I believe, 3/4 of an inch. Now the bevel here angle that I have, the length is around 12 mil, 11, 12 mil, and the angle is around between 30 and 35 degrees. Now the way you sharpen this is, in one of my previous videos I shown an easy method of freehand sharpening a spindle gouge, a regular spindle gouge. The same applies here, but due to the shape of the tool, the cross section of it, you have to drop the handle a little bit further down to get the little bit longer wings. Now the alternative is to push the gouge up a little bit, but I find that I get a little bit how should I say this, consistent bevel here and angle by dropping the handle a little bit down. Now to get the profile, again, I watched that previous video where I manipulate the gouge like this to get the fingernail profile here. The same applies on this one here. So find the bevel, we'll wait until it spools up. Now while I'm here, I'll actually polish up the flute inside a little bit. That way you will see when the CBN gets to the edge, the cutting edge, it will change color a little bit. So now that way you know you reach the edge here and it's nice and sharp. So find the bevel and rotate it in your hand, left, right, left and right. And now I'm at 2 o'clock position of the flute, and I start to drop the handle down, down, down. Hold it here so I get a sharp corner, and now raise it and rotate it to 10 o'clock. Now I'm at 10 o'clock and drop the handle down, 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 and that's it. So that's nice and sharp. I'll show you. So that's the top profile, and this is the, show you a little bit different light. There we go. So that's the facet all the way around, or the bevel, sorry. So that will be nice and sharp and ready to be used on a bowl. So I have here a little ball blank around 7 inches in diameter roughly, of ash 2 inches thick, and I'll put this on the 3-in-1 screw chuck. I had a little bird flew in my shop, so I had to show her where the doors are. So start the lathe slowly, bring the speed up gradually until it's safe, it doesn't rattle. So this is running at 1500 RPM. It's a small blank. And now this is again continental spindle gouge with a tank here. I'll show you the results on using a regular spindle gouge as well. Now the way I position this, so the flute now is facing 12 o'clock, and that's actually quite dangerous because none of these sides are supported. So when you see a turner using a ball gouge or a spindle gouge like this upright and they just nibble like this, it's wrong, because eventually you will get wings cut up and then it will blow you around like this. So the way you approach this is you lightly position to the side. So this is now facing, let's say, between 10 and 11 o'clock. Go into edge, and I'm using the wing here mostly now, and I just squeeze it around, and as you can see that takes off the wood quite nicely, and I forgot to put the smock on. So the smock is on, and again around between 10 and 11 o'clock facing, drop the handle. So this will be facing flat, and I'll actually bring the camera out so you can see a little bit better. So this is the handle flat. I drop it down like so, so that's, you can see, around 4 inches or so. Rotated the flute towards the bowl at around between the 10 and 11 o'clock, and I just squeeze my hand around the corner here because there is a bark here, so you want to remove all the imbalance first. You can see that's really effortlessly. You can use just left of the point if you want, does the same job, or you can use the whole all of the wing, again does the job quite well. Same goes with the regular spindle gouge. So I position it between around 10 and 11 o'clock, drop the handle down, so this is flat, drop it down, close the flute to, like I said, between 10 and 11 o'clock. Now I'm using left of the wing or left of the point and using all of the left wing. Its spindle gouge are great for outside of bowl because there is not much overhang between the tool rest and the bowl. You can get quite close to a bowl. Back to using continental spindle gouge. So again, let's shape the outside first. Now as I'm coming here to end grain and I'm getting a little bit more further out like this, I like to close the flute ever so slightly, because if you cut up from the middle to the left, to the right, sorry, so from the middle to the right, this area here, when you're in this position, it will bang over because there is nothing here that's supporting the cut, this side of the bevel or the profile of the gouge. So just have to be aware of that. A little bit more to get it round. So that's nice and round. I don't hear or feel actually bar. Oh, there is a lot of bark left, so we can mark it if you want, here and here. So we need to remove in a straight line that portion. And we need to chew up the top. And again, between 2 and 1 o'clock, using the wing, this area here. Again, it's effortless. So first, chew up the place where you'll rest the bevel, using again the left wing, like so. And now what I want is the shaving coming from, I hope you can see, from the point a little bit to the left, a little bit. If you go too far, then it will bang over, like so. This is called shear cut, because the cutting angle between the wood and the tool is around 45 degrees, even actually more, or a steeper shear angle. And that's again nice and clean. Now we need a little foot here. So let's go with this size. Now to set the foot, again using continental spindle gouge, I close the flute a little bit more. Now I hope in this angle what you will see is the bevel here is pointing straight in the way I want to go. So at the moment I'll make a square tenon here. And again, you have to close it, because you keep it like this, it wants to skate over the tenon you want to leave here. So, and at the end of the cut, you roll the handle up and also roll the gouge or the flute more down to the 9 o'clock, like so. That way you tuck it in and you have a nice crisp corner where the jaws will fit. So now we have our tenon here, nicely cut. There is actually something picking my finger here, so we still have a little bit of bark left here. Now none of these cuts are clean. You can see it's really rugged here. These are all roughing cuts. So now what I want to do, just inspect. Oh, there is a little grain picked up here. So we'll go one more time. Nice and clean inside, and now we can make a nice shear cut going all the way around the bowl. Again, the flute now will be a little bit more closed in this case. At this stage now I can open it up, much like with the bottom here, a little bit, so I'm getting the shaving just right of the very tip here, this area right here. Right in the bevel. Okay, that's, you'll see, nice smooth cut. So you can see that's a quite clean cut. There is still a little bit more of that rough texture that we have from roughing cuts. So let's go one more time. So now you can see that's again nice clean surface. And now we need to do something with this area here. Doesn't look great, so we can go against the grain a little bit. So that's our bowl shape. Now usually what I like to do is use a refiner, my signature scraper, to finesse the curve. And you can shear scrape from here. And that's nice smooth outside, and we can do the same with the bottom, but we have to raise the rest slightly. And we can make details with the spindle gouge. So drop the handle down, and I'll use again the same continental spindle gouge. Make a small button. That's nice and clean. Let's make a little bead here. Just have to be careful which edge you're cutting with, so it doesn't skate over. So tuck it nicely into the corner, and I'll just take this sharp edge off. So I'll just quickly sand this, and then we'll see how it performs the continental spindle gouge on the inside. So that's the outside done. These are VM120 chuck with shark jaws, and this will fit nicely in the chuck without leaving any marks. Or okay, actually it won't. I made it ever so slightly too small, so what I'll do is put one paper towel. Now what happened is I did have to use that calipers for this one, but I think I forgot to reset it, so it's a little bit smaller, but no big deal. We'll make it work. So now the hollowing with the continental spindle gouge. So I want to true up the top here, although not necessary, but and you hollow it out by closing the flute first, going into the wood, open it slightly. I drop the handle as well and go straight in. Here is especially dangerous if you roll the gouge way too far to the left, because again it will cut into this unsupported wing and it will crash you over. Usually what happens is it drags also down, and that way it can pull it out of your hands. So it will be okay if we keep it on the side like this, and you can see where the or how the shavings are coming from. I got you a little better angle here. I think you can see how the shear cut here makes the coil nice and tight, and what happens if you roll it too high, then it will grab the entire left wing at one point like this, wants to dig it in, and it drags it down, and that happens in a millisecond with the high speed, and then it breaks the tool or blows the bowl. pull it out of your hand, start to spin it off here, and nothing bad, nothing good can happen here. So I always start the cut by closing the flute at 9 o'clock. I get this V groove, and here I can rotate it and go straight in. Again, I hope you can see where the cut is coming from. So this is 2-inch thick bowl, and if it was deeper than that, then again ball gouge is much efficient way of hollowing, safer as well. It's stronger steel, that's for sure. So nice shear angle here to make the rim here. Hope you can see a little ridges. I mean, they're not actually that little, that's from the length of the bevel, and I'm trying to make the tight curve, and the bevel starts to rub here, but it's nice and clean. Hope you can see that. And again, for the bottom I like to use the scrapers like my mentor. I have here at the bench my refiner, so I'll use it. So that's nice flowing curve. There is enough thickness here, and again I can use the round shank spindle gouge here. And again, you'll see that's clean cut. The inside is nice and done. So we can sand it real quick again. A bit of oil. And beeswax. Cleaner rag. And that's the inside down. So everything was done nicely with Continental spindle gouge. As you can see, especially for smaller stuff, it's a really useful tool. And just because it sort of a new age has arrived, and maybe better tools as well, that doesn't mean that this one can't be used on anything else but the spindle. So you can see the ball one more time. So nothing crazy, but really simple ball done with basically one tool. I did use a scraper, but you don't have to. You can shear scrape the profile here if you want, but I find the scraper just ever so slightly more user friendly and better to use. But nice simple ball for any beginner or anybody who's just starting out, and he found maybe on a garage sale, this kind of tool. If it's not in a high-speed steel, then I would avoid it if it's a carbon steel type tool, the older models. But the newer one, like this one from Crown, which is M42 by the way, really holds the edge quite nicely, and it's a really useful tool to have. So hopefully this video demystifies a little bit on continental spindle gouges. Again, there are better options today. This is older model of tool, let's say. Ball gouges are much more efficient on the inside. It can be much more efficient on the outside as well. But if you only have this will get you done a lot of balls, like it did for me as well. So thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.